Oh, all right. Happy Thursday evening. Hope you all had a fantastic laborless Labor Day this past weekend. It is time for our Thursday night X39 review and testimonial patching podcast. We are so excited to share with you this evening fabulous testimonies that you're going to hear. And of course, I want to make sure I start off by saying that the information that you hear tonight is not here to diagnose or to treat or to cure anything. We are going to give you information this evening. Some people are going to share their personal testimonials with using the X39 stem cell activation patch. So please check with your healthcare provider, your physician, your practitioner if you have any questions or concerns, as always, before starting something new. And of course, if you're on medications, pregnant or nursing, check with your physician. But I would like you to go ahead and send a quick text message to the person that invited you tonight and thank them ahead of time before you even get to hear what's going to happen tonight, because I know that text is going to be a little bit more enthusiastic afterwards as well too. But thank them, because what you're going to hear tonight is nothing shy of a miracle, to say the least. So I'm excited to bring on Sara and her husband, Kerry. I'll be interviewing them tonight, and then I'm going to turn it over to my beautiful co-host, Marci, out in California, who will be sharing the science and technology with you about how this is all taking place. So we're right over 200 people, Marci. I'm going to go ahead and get started with Sara and Kerry. You guys are unmuted. So Sara, tell us first off, who you are, where you're from, and how did you find out about this technology? And then I would love to hear from you and Kerry, and however you guys want to play. I interviewed you the other night. It was fantastic, piggybacking off each other with your experiences, how long you've used the patch. And I love that grocery list. I'm famous for the grocery list. And I'm sorry, Kerry, you have a grocery list, buddy, a mile long. And I know we want to hear what's happened with you, beforehand. And then, of course, obviously, how long you've been using the patches and what's happened with you since.
Okay, sure. And if I miss something you say, it's a little broken up on my end. So if I miss something, just stop me. So we live in Florida. We live about an hour or so north of Tampa, in a little town in the country. We have a few acres and some cows and chickens and whatnot. And that's the life we love. Kerry's an attorney by profession, a trial attorney. I'm a nurse practitioner. We were introduced to LifeWave technology by my dear friends, Mark and Catherine Engstrom. And I've known them for many years. And Catherine very gently sort of nudged me into listening to her about LifeWave. And I'm going to be forever grateful because she did. 4.5 years ago now, March of 2018, Kerry was in basically a fatal motorcycle accident. Somebody ran a red light when he was just about to enter an intersection, and he hit the side of a car going 50 miles an hour. So his body went from 50 miles an hour down to zero, and 0.02 seconds. And the calculated G-forces that we've had a couple of engineer friends of ours calculate out for us is that the G-forces that his body sustained was 113 G-forces. And according to the Air Force, a body can withstand 42, I believe, 42 or 44, I've forgotten now, 42 G-forces. And one of our general friends from the Air Force told us that pretty much the only time he has seen anything over that was in airplane crashes. And not to be too graphic, but they pretty much picked up pieces of people in buckets if they sustained more than that. So the fact that he's even alive is just by the grace of God and a pure miracle. So his injuries are numerous, so I'll give you a quick rundown of those. at the scene, he wasn't breathing. And so
And you were right behind
I
him,
was,
so-
I was on my motorcycle behind him.
Sorry.
And by the way, we don't ride motorcycles anymore. But I was on my motorcycle behind him. And so he wasn't breathing at the scene. And so thankfully I knew how to take care of that. And I opened his airway and whatnot until EMS got there. So he had, at the scene, he had what's called a hemothorax. His lung was full of blood instead of air. And so they had to put a tube in to fix that and let the blood out. He had what's called a flail chest, which is when your ribs are cracked or broken in multiple places, each rib, so that there's no structure supporting, your rib cage supports all of your organs inside your chest, and those were broken. So he had, I'll probably look at my list here. All of the ribs on the right side were broken, several of them or multiple of them in numerous places. 50% of the ribs on the left were broken. He had 3 pelvic fractures. 4 of his vertebrae were broken. His right thumb was broken, left hand was crushed, and the report said with fragments too numerous to count. Right shoulder blade was fractured, right acromium fracture, right tibia fracture, torn ACL, torn meniscus. He had liver laceration, total organ system failure. So every organ in his body shut down. He's on dialysis because his kidneys shut down. He had ARDS, which you guys are probably familiar with. That's adult respiratory distress syndrome, which is what we have heard of with COVID. So your lungs don't expand. They get stuck together like that, and they can't expand, so you can't breathe. So he had ARDS. He did a whole lot of soft tissue damage, liver failure, everything else. He had to have 30 to 40 units of blood, and you only have like 6 units of blood in your whole body. So he had 30 or 40 replaced. Multiple surgeries. His GI system was paralyzed. He had pneumonia 3 separate times. He was pretty much a mess. They gave him medicine to raise his blood pressure, and then the same day they would give him medicine to lower his blood pressure. He had to have his heart shocked. He was pretty much a disaster. For 6 weeks, he was on a ventilator and in a coma, and daily they told me that he wasn't going to live. But he did, by God's grace. So those were his injuries.
Okay, so wow, that's a grocery list. That is,
It is.
yeah, you were here because of God, period. It was not your time to go, Kerry. So
Right.
we are grateful you are here. Sara, can you kind of take us through, the last 4.5 years? Obviously, we can't go through all of that, but as far as mobility, ability, and where he was, just recently before you guys found out about LifeWave just not too many weeks ago. How many weeks ago was that total? 8?
That's been 8.5 weeks. It was July 4th, actually, when we went over to Mark and Catherine's to talk about it.
So where was he
So-
at coming out of the hospital, like mobility and ability wise, and just here up until 8 weeks ago?
Okay, so sure. When he came out of his coma, he couldn't move any part of his body. He couldn't move his hands. He couldn't move anything. And he had to be taught how to do all of that again.
Right.
Every single ADL, he had to be retaught how to do, walk and everything. So by the time he got out of the hospital, he could walk a little bit with a walker. He was mostly in a wheelchair. We did some house modifications for him, and he did physical therapy for well over a year. And so he progressed, and to the point that he could walk, but he walked with a cane 100% of the time and used his walker part of the time, every day to get out of bed. And then some of the time during the day. If he had the rain like we've had today, he would be on the couch all day from the pain. He was in pain 100% of the time, whether he was awake or not. I'm a light sleeper. I heard him moaning all night long. Every time he turned over, he would moan. So he was in pain continuously. He couldn't do any of the things he could do. Our life, we're very athletic and outdoors type people, and that pretty much ended because he could no longer do it. And right before Mark and Catherine introduced us to Lifeway, we were pretty much still at that point. He was very frustrated, quite frankly. He would say to me, I'm looking at him, not sure if I'm supposed to say this. He would say to me, you know, I don't even know why God bothered to save me if I'm going to be in this much pain all of the time. And I would just tell him that obviously God had a purpose. And then Mark and Catherine introduced us to this. And within a week and a half, he had some other issues, like he has a longstanding high blood pressure and cholesterol issues. And within a week and a half, his blood pressure was coming down already. And
after the patch,
right after we started the patches, the first day he put the patch on, he told me he felt tingling, which I thought he was crazy because I felt nothing for over 3 weeks. I felt nothing at all, but he felt this tingling, and then within a week and a half, his blood pressure was coming down, and I decreased his medicine since that's what I do for a living, and then he started saying his shoulder was feeling a little bit better. And within about 3 weeks, his shoulder, right rib, and right scapular pain were gone, just totally gone. And then, but he complained that his hip and pelvis and back were still bothering him. And he was still using his cane and everything. And then his blood pressure started coming down some more. So now it's down to the point where he's only taking a third of the medicine he was taking. And within the last month, his hip and pelvis pain and low back pain have resolved. So he has not used his cane with at all in the last, I'd say 3 to 4 weeks, except one time when he was overdoing it because he felt so good and he pulled a muscle in his back, but that's the only day. Other than that, he's pretty much normal. I mean, normal back to normal. And it's not like he goes out and runs, but he didn't like to do that anyway. But he can walk and not have pain now.
Right.
It's phenomenal.
And what did you tell me just happened right before we came on here? You were sharing with us. Tell us that.
So we have cows, and one of our bulls was being ornery and he broke down the fence. And so we went out. Now, mind you, it's been rainy here, and normally Kerry would be on the couch all day. And
just because of the rain.
Right, because it causes so much more pain. And we went out, we walked down to the barn instead of taking the side by side. And then we got out the fence staples, and he's bending down, fixing the fence. And then I realized what he was doing. I said, you realize you're bending down, fixing the fence? And he didn't even realize it because he just did it automatically because he hadn't had pain. He hasn't done that since his accident. I'm usually the one that does the fencing.
Right. So
I'm glad I don't have to do the fencing anymore.
Oh my gosh. So I mean, this is how I was the other night. I was just completely speechless when you're sharing this with me. So 4.5 years of full body excruciating pain, immobility, lack of ability. Kerry, is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know that I'd say excruciating some days, but it was especially rainy days. I was on the couch because I actually had 41 fractures, not 41 not 41 bones, because the ribs were broken 2 and 3 times, but 41 fractures. And with that many broken bones, yeah, it was nonstop, and I couldn't sleep on my right side, and I'm right-handed. And that's what I was using just a couple of hours ago. I'm looking at the clock. 2 hours ago, I was fixing a fence, hammering with my right hand, bending down, and that's something I haven't been able to do for 4.5 years.
So tell me, I want to know what patches have you used, and where are you using them?
I'm using the X39 and the Aeon. Right.
X39 and Aeon.
Right.
Where
I had
do
a
you-
lot of inflammation and all of my joints, from my knee up through my shoulder, lower back. I broke 4 lumbar vertebrae and the pelvis in 3 places, and every one of those areas I had pretty much continuous pain. And I suppose you guys know much more about the science than I do, but I suppose the Aeon reduced the inflammation in those areas.
Fantastic. So X39 and Aeon. Have you ever used Ice Wave?
Well, we have a couple times. I'm not real good at it yet. I'm trying, and I look at the pictures and I try and I've watched some videos, but I've tried it on my sciatica and it has helped until I took the patch off later. And Kerry gets migraines and worse now. And I think because he smacked his head, in the accident so hard, but I have put them on him and I've tried them on his temples and tried them on the sides of his neck near his carotid and, down on his trapezius. And we find a place that helps, but I'm not really good at that yet. But I have used them some. The office manager came into the office one day with complaining of her neck, and I happened to have some Ice Wave with me. I said, oh, well, let me put this on you. And I happened to get it on in the right spot. And she said, oh yeah, that's perfect. Okay, leave it there. So within like 2 minutes.
Wow. And the reason why I asked was because with this much of trauma to the body and the pain that you have been in for so long, and I know you'd said the other night you don't take pain medications on a daily basis, maybe once or twice a week, I think is what you had said, if necessary. Is that correct?
I think I said he was taking something like 3 times a week, but he really needed it 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And he's not had anything in like 6 weeks now.
Yeah, and it was a narcotic, a gentle narcotic, but I am personally very opposed because of my profession as a trial attorney. I saw, in my opinion, the abuse of narcotics and the damage it did to people who are injured. And so personally, I don't like them, and I only took them when I absolutely had to. But I had pain all the time.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask because I know they're asking, I know you said you use X39 and Aeon, and I knew they would want to know if you were using Ice Wave as well too. So it was X39 and Aeon that were helping you reduce the inflammation and become, where you're out of pain and have more range of motion and mobility, and obviously not using a cane anymore. Hammering a fence is, I don't even know that I could do that, but with no injuries, that's amazing.
Don't try, it's a lot of work. Once you do it, your husband will make you do it all the time.
Sarah's like, thank God, and so I just want to, they're asking me, where did you place the X39 and the Aeon on your body?
On the about C7 and T1.
Okay, perfect.
Just
Yeah.
put them right above
Approximately,
each other.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
cervical vertebrae 7 and thoracic 1. Okay, perfect.
Correct.
So one
Right.
right below the other. David calls that kissing them. So you're
Okay.
kissing the patches, one right below the other. Okay,
Yeah.
that, and then,
At the
and also,
bottom of the neck and just below that. Yes.
yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to
Now,
make sure.
had I had any Ice Wave, I might have tried that, but that's not what we had. We only had the X39 and the Aeon initially, so that's what we used and had amazing results.
And not to mention, you've cut your blood pressure medication by a third, right?
No, by 66%. He's
By
only taking 1/3, right?
Right.
Taking 1/3, and you're a nurse practitioner, so obviously you're in charge of his medication. So,
Right.
if you're, here listening to this, you would consult with your physician. I just want to make sure, but I want you to understand that coming in just a matter of a few weeks, coming down on blood pressure medication that much is significant.
Right. And I didn't mention,
statin.
we had already had lab work scheduled, and for 1 month after we happened to start this, just coincidentally, and Kerry's on cholesterol medication, and his bad cholesterol, his LDL, went down by 30 points, and his good cholesterol, the HDL, went up by 2. And I mean, that combination's amazing. And I don't have lipid problems, but my good cholesterol still went up and my bad still went down.
Wow.
And we did nothing else. It's not like we all of a sudden decided we were going to clean up our diets more than they were. We ate the same way. We try to eat well, but.
Mhm. Wow. Thank you. That is amazing. I know everybody on here, if you're looking at the chat, they are mind blown. There are 285 people on here right now, and we are just so grateful. Number one, Kerry, that you're alive and here, and that you have received so much benefit from these patches, these 2 patches in the last 2 months. That is absolutely a miracle, just a blessing from God that you're here and that you're feeling so much better.
Right. It
So
is.
we really appreciate you guys taking the time and the detail. Thank you, Sara, for your detail as well to share all of this with everybody else, because I know this impact is going to be, it's going to be huge. The reach, I always talk about that ripple effect, dropping that stone in the pond, and that ripple effect is going to be huge. So I appreciate you so much. So grateful for you guys being here
You're very
tonight.
welcome. Could I say something?
Yeah.
I know that we're on a time schedule, and I hate to, I'm looking at my clock. I'll shut up in 1 second. But you just said something that it just shocked me. You said that ripple effect. When Kerry was in the hospital, and and I know everybody has different beliefs. We're Christians. And when Kerry was in the hospital, a friend of ours was having her quiet time with God, and she wrote in her journal and shared with us later that while she was having her quiet time with God, she felt that God told her that he would heal Kerry and that the ripple effect would go far. And so when you said the ripple effect, it was like, oh my goodness, I have to stop you and interject that.
Wow. Well, that brings tears to my eyes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. That is amazing. So I'm blessed to be here with you guys on this journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We are very blessed.
Marci. Oh my gosh. I'm excited for you to share the science and technology with these almost 300 people, how this has happened for Kerry and obviously for Sara as well too.
Absolutely. So this is what they've been taking. It's called the X39 stem cell activation patch. And it looks like this. It actually looks like a Band-Aid. But when you open it up, it's so much more. Inside is organic crystal. And it turns out that we radiate a low grade frequency light off of our body. And when you put that patch on your body, it reflects back a light wave. And that light wave activates a peptide called GHK copper peptide. And that peptide activates your stem cells, makes more stem cells, and resets your stem cells to a younger, healthier state. And for Sara and Kerry, I would say it goes something like this. Stem cells are the only cells in your body that are changeable, which means they can change into whatever cell your body needs for repair. And do you remember, Kerry and Sara, when you were 20, how fast your stem cells were repairing you? That was called youth, correct? And then all of a sudden, at around age 30, it all starts slowing down, about 50%. And then by age 60, most of the stem cells are dormant. They're not dead, but they're dormant. So here is Kerry with this accident. He said he broke 41 fractures. I can't even imagine what it would be like to have 41 fractures and the pain that goes with it. I don't know if you heard this, but he, up until X39, was still using a cane. The rain made him have pain, and he moaned at night when he slept. Okay, so then all of a sudden he puts this patch on, and this wearable light technology, another name I would say Dr. Staci would call this photobiomodulation, which is light making change. And boy, that light started to make change, and those dormant stem cells started marching, and they started to repair. And Dr. Patty talks about how they become honing birds, and they go into where your big inflammation is and start to repair it. And then they march to the next thing and repair and the next thing. And if I remember, the first thing that started to repair was like that blood pressure and the cholesterol. And then it kept marching. And I believe it went to the rib and the scapula. But it's still, that darn hip was still hurting. Well, then in 4 more weeks, what happened? The hip starts feeling good. He's feeling so good, I'm getting chills. Then he's with his wife in the rain doing the fence again, and he forgets he hurts. That's stem cell activation at its best, folks. That is what this patch is doing. Stem cells are reactivating and we are repairing again like we're young. And that is the X39 stem cell activation patch. I'm going to talk about Aeon too tonight, because this is what also helped them. It's the same type of patch. They look the same. They are non-transdermal, which means nothing's in these patches. The crystal is like a reflection. It reflects the light. This activates a peptide in your liver that stops inflammation. So think about this. David Schmidt, the owner, inventor, and CEO, says this: stem cells are activated. X39 is activating them. But then inflammation comes and starts eating those stem cells. So what happens if you reduce inflammation? You're going to turbocharge the X39 to work even better. And that's why Dr. Staci says, I think she said, let's do the kissing technique, I believe. And no, it's not what you think.
Yeah.
You put the X39 right below the back of the neck, and then you put the Aeon right under it. And you just kind of, let's see if I can do this real quick. If I understand, it's kind of like a little kiss, like that. And
Good
that
job, Marci.
did I do that right? Are you proud of me, doctor?
They
And
don't need to overlap though. They don't
Oh,
need to overlap.
Oh, there you go. So I wasn't quite right. They can
Just a
just
kiss on the lips. We're not doing any more than that.
stop. I was just going to say, I guess I don't know how to kiss. Anyway, okay. Now, so here we go. So that is what would happen. And so the Aeon is reducing the inflammation so the stem cell can start repairing. And I like to say that X39 and Aeon really is your repair. These are the, I like to say, the workhorse of the line for LifeWave, and they are going to repair. Now, Staci also talked about IceWave, and so I do want to show this real quick. This is like a pain Band-Aid. It's gonna take the pain away while X39 and Aeon do the repair. So you would put the brown patch on the pain spot, the white patch about 3 inches away, and it breaks the connection of pain in the connective tissue. So where Sara and Kerry were talking about a migraine, most likely they put it right there and they broke the connection of pain in the migraine. Dr. Patty has symptoms of MS, and she talks about full body pain. So she puts these on the bottom of her feet, one on each foot, and she blocks the pain with another brown and white patch on her shoulder. And that works really good. So I like to say that X39, Aeon, and IceWave is truly the pain and repair protocol. And I really wanted to share this tonight because let's face it, Kerry's had 41 fractures and he needed to understand the pain and repair protocol. IceWave to get rid of pain, X39 and Aeon for repair. So how do you get more information? Oh, and also you wear these patches 12 hours on to activate and repair and 12 hours off. Let me say that one more time. 12 hours on to activate and repair and 12 hours off. These are a form of wearable light technology. So with light, you do need to go on and off. If you wear them 24 hours over and over and over again, your body will get used to the light and they won't work so well. So the only rule is 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Every patch has its own 12-hour clock, so you can wear them during the day or wear them during the night, or some during the day and some at night. And remember, our whole body radiates light, so any spot will do. As my son says, I just put mine all on my forehead and go to bed, and he does just fine. So with that, how do you get these patches? Well, you can get one sleeve of X49 for $149. You can become a preferred customer and ship every month for about $119. I like the silver kit for $299. You can get 3 X39s. That's enough for yourself, your family, and even some to share. My guess, Kerry and Sara did a mixing pack and probably did 2 X39s and 2 Aeons for $2.99, and then did a couple X39s the following month to keep their stem cells activating. That's wonderful as well. You can mix and match. You can do whatever you want. It's reasonable. It's really less than a cup of coffee a day. So you can check out more information at startx39now.com. That's startx39now.com. That is our new international site, and it has been fully updated. There's a great video on light. There's a 3-minute video on stem cells, and David Schmidt does an 18-minute video on X39, how the technology works and the issues that they help with. Also, there's a great LifeWave YouTube channel, and you can just search David Schmidt and do your own research. Also, there's a 20-year patent on X39 that says, yes, X39 activates your stem cells and also activates the GHK copper peptide in your blood. So with that website, one more time, if you'd like to write it down, is startx39now.com. That's startx39now.com. So get with the person who brought you here and just let them know how you'd like to get started. And tomorrow, Friday, there is Laura and Wendy, and their testimonial call is at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern. Join us for more great testimonials. With that, Dr. Staci, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you so much, Marci. Wonderful explanation of our technology and how this helps Sara and Kerry so much. Thank you both again for being on here. I'm very grateful for you, and I know everybody else is as well. So congratulations. We will definitely have you back on again in the future. I know everybody would love to hear how things are progressing in your lives. So thank you all. Have a fantastic Thursday, and we will see you soon.